My name is Dave Weiner. Welcome to the call. It is November 20th, 2014. I had an interesting case brought last night to the table. It's requiring a ton of brain power, and I'm not ready to present it yet. So, Bonnie, I'm not ready. But this is the challenging issue on that. We've got an 80-year-old female that is open to housing money inside one of our strategies. But the problem in this 80-year-old female is it's $350,000 of assets that can be moved. But I don't know if I need to know if there's a spouse. I can do great work on this case if there's a spouse involved. The problem, if there is no spouse, then the IUL is not an option because she is an 80-year-old female diabetic with insulin. Now, I'm not saying we can't write an insulin diabetic on a life insurance contract. It's at that age, she is off. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, way off the chart. Not gonna. It's. I could talk to her until I come blue in the face. I just don't believe that that's going to happen. Now, with LSW, if she has a spouse, I can get an IUL chassis opened up with a non-insurable partner. But it's just not a case that can be. It's going to require a lot of thought pattern. Now, there's a couple other issues that come into play on that case, and one of those other issues that comes into play, folks, is Medicare planning. Is she going to be going into a nursing home? There's still assets to be put somewhere. Every state's got its rules. California is a 60-month look-back state. There are places to put the product money in, and then it'll kick out money. And so if you're doing Medicare or Medi-Cal type planning, we have products that can do that. Obviously, it creates an income, and obviously it's catchable by the nursing home that they're being put into. But I didn't get the impression that she was going to be confined at this point in time. But she is 80. She is an insulin-dependent diabetic, so the odds of moving those assets, unless there's a spouse involved, probably not going to happen at this point in time. But I did put the thinking cap on. And, Bonnie, if you're not here yet, well, I kind of covered it, but it still requires a ton of thought. But not going to be finished right there today. That was a very difficult case to put on the desk, and that's why I chuckled when he said it's going to require a lot of brain power. I said, yeah, a lot of brain power, but still, great case. So let's take a look at it if there is a spouse. That's where we're going to start today. We only have one carrier that insures a non-insurable, and the question is, why an IUL to house money over all other choices? And this is where your believability comes in, where you become a product of the product, and how important is it to have that money in the right chassis? So where do you start to educate yourself on that? Well, you know what? I like the tab that we have on our website. If you're going to, let's just say this weekend, you decide, you know what? I want to write an index life policy, not because the agent has to buy it, but because they want it. What are the steps? Let's keep it really simple, non-me-like, non-over-explanation-like. What are the steps to keep this so simple to take you from step A to what is the first thing you've got to do? Well, you know what? I like the thing on our website. So I'm going to go to our website. Those of you who have never been there, that's freedomequitygroup.com. And then go right over here to the little tab, say Start Here. Ask your client if they're near a computer and get them to watch this little 3-minute video. You know what? It's a great video. And it's going to make them think red line, blue line. It's going to make them think. We don't have to go into a 30-minute video. But if you can get your client to go there and do 3 minutes there, then what would be appropriate step number 2? Step number 2, take them into the not income calculator, I'm sorry, wrong calculator. A better way to save. And after they go on in there, now you're explaining indexing to them. Now this is step 2. This is very simple, and all I'm going to do is I'm going to put in over here. I'm going to drop this menu down so they really get it. I'm going to put in over here. Let's say I'm going to put $1 million. I'm going to put no. I want to put $1 million in here. I'm going to put $1 million over here, and I'm going to walk them through all these numbers. This is the S&P from 1999 to 2013. If we had that product in place and they had $1 million in the market, great. I'm going to put an age. And one of the great things that Mr. Price did is he factored in fees, but he also, when you put the male or female in there, it factors in the cost of the insurance. What the insurance cost would be for the same time frame. He actually put that into the calculator. He figured it out. So I'm going to put in a 45-year-old, take him to retirement. I'm going to leave it male. And over here, I'm going to drop this down to $500,000 on our side. Yeah, I'm really going to drop $1 million over here, $500 here. Why such a big difference? Well, I'm saying that they got matching funds over here. Now I'm going to scroll down. I'm going to put my stuff in. I got half the money on the right side, half. But I'm going to put some things in. I've got a 3% fees in. I've got a 40% state and federal tax over here. They end up being able to spend $622. I have half the money. You can see right here, I end up with spendable money of $1.1 million. I'm $556,000 better shape by eliminating risk, by having my fixed cost in my life insurance, and I still got my death benefit. I put $500,000 more in the same index by eliminating losses, by only having the cost of life insurance, and by eliminating taxation. I'm $556 to the better. So what have we done so far? We did red line / blue line, right? We're not done yet. Then we did the index calculator. What else do they need to understand about that policy? There's life insurance involved. They need to understand that this is a new type of life insurance. But we're going to assume that right now you can't explain it. That's okay. You're going to go to my website if you don't have it yourself. You're going to go to Hot Topic David Weiner.myvpi.me. You're going to put me on the board. So I'm going to open this up. I'm going to show you exactly what you're going to do. You're going to go right here. We're going to click on me. And we're going to scroll all the way down to the bottom of the page. All the way at the very, very, very bottom is Financial Fitness with Dave Weiner. And you're going to click on me. And I'm going to explain in 10 minutes the new life insurance. So now what have we done? We've done red line, blue line, index calculator, life insurance, a new type. You went there and you played me, the financial fitness, so that they understand how the life insurance part works on that contract. And now they get both. And I'm going to take it into the GUL product here in a second, but I want you to realize we're looking good at that point. What else do you got to know how to do? There's only one more step, and that is being able to go in to your company website and submit an application. What are some of the things you're going to need from the client that they should have up front? You're going to need a copy, if you're doing this over the phone and computer, copy of driver's license, a void check, If they own insurance, we're going to need to know how much, who's the carrier. It's going to ask you for the policy number, so they're going to have to look it up. They're going to have to look up the sheet. We're going to have to know the policy number, the carrier, and what year did it go in for, did they buy it? Are you replacing it? God, I hope so. Kind of cool. You need to know that. On the beneficiary, whoever they're going to list as their beneficiary, their spouse, you're going to need to know name, date of birth, their address, obviously probably the same address and everything, kind of important. You got a void check, but that's their banking info. And by the way, on EAP, anybody done the EAP lately with, for example, LSW? Especially in California, there is a massive amount of new questions now. I think it's because of the chronic issue in California, but there's about 50, 60 more questions than I've ever seen before, and they're asking the same questions over in different ways. So basically, best pay attention to that. It is very important. But now, what have you done? What are those steps? You've now put an application in process. So take a look at that. What did we do? Watch a video. Take them online. Show them the index calculator. Make them watch the new type of life insurance. Go to the web. Pick an amount of money. Oh, you know what you should do? I'm sorry. I skipped a step. I apologize. Before you do the EAP, what else should we do? What do you think I forgot to put in there? Anybody? On the computer, have them come back to you and on the computer, run their illustration. Forgot that little detail. If you don't know how to run an illustration, text me. I'm not asking to split your case. You're doing all the steps. If I get on the phone and if I do the case, if I do this, for example, if I do the second interview in our project, I'm splitting the case with the rep that brought the case to the table. If I'm selling the deal and selling from the workshop standpoint, second interview, it's my case too. But if I'm not doing the second interview, which is what I want, there's got to be a motivation for you to learn how to do the interview. Not doing the interview, guess what? The person bringing the case to the table, it's all yours. This process right here, putting them into index life, gets them to absolutely understand it. Because remember, a lot of people going through the workshops are not going to be licensed. And we are going to teach them a new way of saving money. This is a new way for them. They got to get it. I know the calculator makes it very enticing, but they also have to know there's life insurance involved. They have, you know, they really got to wrap their hands around that. And those steps right there are really simple. But if you don't know how to do an illustration, if you send me the info on the client, I will run it and send it back to you PDF so you have an illustration to go with your sale. I don't need, you know, to get an illustration ran, not that big a deal. You need to learn how to do an illustration, and you've got to be able to do it from a couple of different ways. We like the max funded illustration, but, and this is the key thing, you're going to do a max life face amount illustration, because if you think that they're going to save enough day one, that's ridiculous. We want room so that they can, without having to requalify, double their premium intake. They can double their contribution. If they say I can start at $200 a month, I want it to be able to take $400, give or take, without mecking the contract. There's no way in the world, if they're under 60 years of age, that you should be doing a max funded contract without the ability to add more money later. They should have the wherewithal that every month, every spare penny they've got, every spare piece of change, whether it's $25 a month, $15 a month, $100 a month, whatever it is, they need to put their policy number on a check and mail it in addition to what's coming out of their checking account. They need to send their spare change and keep putting money in and money in. And to max that thing out and not let any extra money go into it, that's ridiculous. If they don't have attachment to their lump sum money from the 401k because they haven't retired yet, make sure you use the CVAT. That's the cash value accumulation test, so that in year 7 they can dump unlimited amounts of money without mecking it. Any questions? That's the steps right there. They're pretty simplistic steps, and it's just the process, and that's basically it. And how important is that to you when you're doing those steps? So what I'm going to do today is I gave you a process, but you got to be able to answer objections. And I've done this before, not of all of you, but with some of you. Today's turn is to answer objections. You're going to get objections. Procrastination is part of life, and when you learn that you got to take 3 to 5 no's before you stop, that I want to think about it is not going, you can't accept I want to think about it, especially when saving money. So I want to teach this today. What is the biggest reason someone will give an objection? Biggest reason. I didn't say what the objection is. What do you think the biggest reasons are that they give an objection not to start that day? And this is a great place for us to really focus in, because I think everybody here wants to do business on a daily basis. But what do you think is the biggest reason? This is participating, so you can use your question mark section or raise your hand, open your mic. But what do you think is the biggest reason? Thank you, Nicole. You're absolutely dead on. Victor, we'll get to that one. I like don't understand, but we're getting some reasons. So let me put these reasons down as they come in. Nicole said not enough money. Victor said they don't understand. And when they don't understand, we'll talk about that in a second. But what else? What are kind of objections do you get? Ben says fear. There's an underlying, folks, when you get a weird objection, you hear the word fear, there's something else underlining, and a lot of times, in my opinion, they don't want to admit that they don't have enough money to save, that they're tapped out. People are looking for better ways, procrastination. I think that comes back, they didn't understand what you're talking about. James Richmond says trust. Well, I want to cover that one today, too. We'll cover that. So let's talk about, we're going to hit trust. Pauline says don't understand, or they're just procrastinating. And we got don't understand before, but we want to utilize that. What else do we got for objections? Anybody got any other ones here? Hi, Letitia. James Cohen says didn't build enough rapport. Well, we'll talk about warm-ups in a second. But, yeah, let's just say you didn't warm them up. So we'll talk about that. Let's say here for James Cohen, they don't get you. In other words, there's just no connection. That's okay. Believe it or not, that's happened to me more than 1 million times. So let's see here. Biggest reasons. Biggest reason in this world, how many people live paycheck to paycheck? I know that doesn't happen in California, does it? Doesn't happen in the state of Washington, does it? Pauline says, sounds too good to be true. How do we deal with that one? We're going to do that one too. Sounds too good to be true. All right, let's tackle the first one. Most objections, no matter what they say, 9 times out of 10, if they're procrastinating at all, it's because they do not know how they are going to afford it. Now this really applies, folks, when you're going after new money. There's a rule that I follow, and I want you to listen very carefully. I try most of the time never to chase new money. It doesn't mean they don't need to save more. But when you go from the confines of what is already on the table, being saved already, to someplace else, if they're saving $200 a month, I want it. If they're saving $300 a month, I want it. If they're saving $1,000 a month, I want it. I deserve it. I'm better than where they're putting that money. There's a believability factor in me when I come in a house that if there's money on the table, and I try not to set an appointment with anybody that don't have money on the table, but that's the whole point of the workshop, right? To find the money. It's FTM. That's your job. Your job is to find the money. And your other, everybody's got job descriptions. So find the money, and what else? You got 3 more words in your job description. Get the check. Find the money and get the check. You got 6 words inside your thing. Now, when I came into business back in the 1980s, people weren't savers. They didn't save jack diddly because they were going to get Social Security and a pension. There are 50 million plus saving money in this country. You would have a hard time not to find them. And I'm not saying you want the lump sum. I want the lump sums, but a lot of lump sums are not available. There's no access to it until they do what? They retire or sever their ties. For 10 to 15 years of my career, I worked state employees. Knowing what I know now compared to what I knew back then, I just did supplemental retirement income, and I did all the time fresh dollars. I went in and saw a state worker, and I convinced them to take more money out of their paycheck. Knowing what I know now, I could have gotten every penny of their deferred comp. I don't want to say I screwed up, because I didn't know what you don't know, you don't know. I went after fresh dollars, and I did not close everyone. In other words, I would give 15, 20 appointments a week, and I really did. I had people that made phone calls to me, booked my appointments, and I drove all over the state of Illinois because I had a payroll slot there. I would get up living in St. Louis, Missouri. There were days I drove all the way to Quincy, Illinois. There were days every morning, and I came back home. I did not stay out overnight. There were days I drove every day to Lincoln, Illinois, and Springfield, Illinois. I drove all the way down to Anna at the bottom of Illinois. I wiped out cars year after year after year. And my wife, for decades, well, not decades, but for that 10 or 15 years, she supervised people on the phone, and she made sure that I had anywhere from 3 to 6 appointments a day. And I worked 5 days a week. I did not stop. And the only thing I wanted is I wanted to come home at night. In other words, they were appointments on the job, in their break time, before work, lunchtime, and I was able to knock out a supplemental sale, believe it or not, with application in less than 15 minutes. I had it down cookie cutter. And my average sale was anywhere from $25 a pay period to $50 a pay period, which means I was writing all day long $50 a month, $100 a month applications, and at the end of the week, I was never really under much more than $6,000 to $8,000 a week in life premium. I made bucket loads because I had activity and I sowed savings. If I went back today by myself and had to start over today, I absolutely would go after their contribution. No question about it. I have got enough stuff in my tool chest that I could take I can get any qualified money contribution today. Even the ones that are matching dollars, because we got better tools. A lot of insurance agents really don't know how to sell index life. They understand ups without the downs, but they really can't explain it in any kind of credible fashion to the degree that we can. That's a big deal. When you talk about trust, going into that aspect, somebody mentioned a comment about trust. Dealing with that's important. You've got to know your stories. And I give lots of them in these classes. So I'm going to ask a question. Now, for those of you that know the answer and remember it, I'm going to ask a question. It's a big question. Who was the richest president ever? Who was the wealthiest president ever based on today's dollars? Now, I got that wrong when I got asked that question. James, you're correct. Anybody else? Nicole, you're correct. Tony, nah, and he wasn't a president. He was a VP. Pauline, you remember, good. Bob Miller, you remember. Bonnie Clark, you remember, good. Yes, JFK. By today's dollars, a billionaire. Joseph Kennedy Sr. was absolutely a steward of money. By the time he was 25, he was president of a bank. That's JFK's father. He did the first insider trading on the stock market in the late 1920s, early 30s. It was actually dramaed in the last season of the Boardwalk Empire series on HBO this past year. They actually showed him insider trading. Thought that was kind of cute. He was the first overseer of the SEC. He was an ambassador to England, and he had privy to wealthy people. The Roosevelts and the Kennedys shared, what I didn't know until recent reading, the same insurance guy. They believed in insurance. The highest marginal tax rates were outrageous in the 40s and 50s. Kennedy was educated. Put your money where you don't pay tax. You want to add a step up there off my VPI for your client. That's very important when you're dealing with 401k money. You've taken them through the IUL calculator. You're taking them to the VPI to learn about life insurance. Tell them to play the other video on my thing there. I forgot. There's one more step. I'm going to toss that step in there. So when we send them to my VPI, we want them to watch Financial Fitness, but there's one more tiny other. We want them to also watch the Ed Slott 5-minute video. That's a CPA. Ed Slott first, because he says use life insurance, and then I want you to understand the new type of life insurance. So the second thing you're going to do is Financial Fitness. In fact, they're in that order on my VPI. So I'm going to go back to the VPI so you can see that. Very important to see that that's in that proper order. So you scroll down. This is the gray-haired gentleman, not the good-looking guy, me. Joking, sense of humor a little bit. But right there, see that guy right there? Play that video today. He tells you to take money out of 401ks, and if they ever watch public broadcasting, they've seen this guy on TV. And then down here, scrolling down, then they watch the fat man talk about life insurance, which I'm not so fat anymore. Ain't that great? I'm 125 pounds less than that picture and losing. I lost another pound this morning, so we're rocking. So at any rate, the bottom line is it's a process. We use our tools, and yes, a guy on PBS who's not an insurance agent telling me to put to my life insurance helps with credibility. But there are stories to help with credibility too. You need to know inside those stories Put your money where you don't pay tax. So who heeds that kind of advice? I'm going to tell you wealthy people do. I'm not talking about 2 million net worth or 4 million net worth. Any person that's still got their money sitting in mutual funds or stock market, guess what? They might have nice numbers, but they have no intention of keeping them. They are determined in their life, listen carefully, to be feed to death. They're determined to be taxed to death. And if that doesn't get them, they will expose them to risk. And they are determined to kill their money. That's their game plan. If they are sitting where they're at right now in 401ks and IRAs, I don't care what their balance number is, they're determined right now to destroy their money. That's no different than me walking into a 7-Eleven and going out and buying a case of Twinkies. You want to commit suicide? Hey, put your money in a 401k. You want to kill your money? Let it be feed to death. If you want to kill your money, let Uncle Sam be your partner. The wealthy people in this country, the real wealthy people, the upper 10% of this nation control 55% of the assets in life companies. Which takes me to that next question, that trust question that James Richmond posted. People that post the trust question are usually in the bottom 50%. The smart people, the wealthy people and the upper middle class already know insurance companies control all the money. They know that money's there. They know those companies are wealthy. The bottom middle class and the poor people are the ones that have trust issues because people have been doing it to them for eons, including insurance companies. There are bottom feeders in every industry. In the insurance industry, what I mean by a bottom feeder, for decades and decades, what did you have out there? Well, I'm going to talk about credibility and trust issues. For a long time, from the Great Depression until about the 1990s, the insurance agent was viewed worse than a used car salesman. So it doesn't surprise me that people that were around the industry in the 70s and 80s thought people had trust issues. Why? We deserved it. You see, in the Great Depression, why did insurance companies survive and banks didn't? Anybody know why insurance companies were able to mentally survive? What was the best job in the world in the 1930s? And I grant you, this is 80 years ago. But why did insurance companies survive and banks close like by the dozens? Does anybody know? Don't see any answers. Nope, that's not the. Carlos, it's a correct answer, but that's not it. It's an okay answer, but that's not that. No, Pauline, they didn't rip people off. No insurance company ripped people off, but there's an answer. In Pamela, you're saying reserves. They're required, but that's not why they didn't go out of business. They could eat, yes. Jerry Price hit the thing on the head. They hired people that needed jobs, and they gave them the job of collecting the premium. And your income wasn't based on new sales. It wasn't. They needed these collectors of money to go collect these premiums in this horrible time frame, and then they gave you, for collecting it, 25% of what you collected. If you didn't collect the money, you didn't make anything. You did not make it, didn't make. Do you know how many people turned the lights off when the insurance men came walking up to the door? My Grammy, she's not here right now. My mom's not here right now. They didn't have any money to give the guy, and because you got paid to collect it, you laid every guilt trip humanly on it, and you snuck up on him, and you knocked on their door at 9 o'clock at night or 4 or 6 in the morning. You didn't care because your family didn't eat if you didn't collect that money. Well, guess what kind of reputation our people got for as collectors? We were worse than the mafia. Now, we didn't break any legs, but you might as well have, because you were always showing up when they didn't want you to show up. You came and you hounded them at church. You hounded them at their jobs. You went and you found them wherever you could to go get that 25 cents or that dollar, because you knew that if you didn't collect money that day, you didn't eat. So yes, the public hated the insurance agent because we were a nuisance. And that image was not good. But because of that process that they did right there, not only did we give jobs in the worst time in history of mankind, but because of that process, not one insurance company failed during the Great Depression. Not one. Not because of legal reserves, but because they found a way to get their money. Even National Life collected their money that way back then. All policies were collected by them by hand. We didn't have, it was the beginning of the debit agent. And there are still companies today in the inner city who still hound people, still collect money. There are people I've interviewed in the last week who started their careers as a debit agent. Made good money as a debit agent, a couple of them that I interviewed. But I got to tell you something, folks. That's where your trust issues come from. They based their trust issues on the person that was their point of contact, not the company, but the person that was out there trying to collect their money. And because that person trying to collect that money didn't care how he or she got it done, they were creative. It's a good word. And so there's trust issues. How do you overcome trust issues? Well, it's not easy. You see, talking about trust factors is as dangerous as talking about religion or as dangerous as talking about politics. You're going to have two sides, and you're very rarely ever going to win that argument. If they don't trust you and you can't get them to like you, it's because you didn't do a warm-up. Get to know the person in front of you. Let them know you. Make yourself human. There's nothing wrong with that. It's okay for a person to know you've struggled with weight loss your whole life. It's okay for them to know you've had real illnesses. You've had real challenges in your life. It's okay for them to know about your successes. It's not bragging, it's credibility. You're building a bond, breaking down barriers. Anybody that's gone through a one-on-one with me, did you not hear me ask a gazillion questions about your background? And that, oh, you did insurance. No. I said, well, how did you get there? Why did you do this? No one, I remember this, learning this back in the 80s from my mentor, no one asks people the particular details. They get, they hear it and they say, oh, I got to listen to it. No, you need to know the person in front of you. And guess what? They need to know you. If you want to do business with them, whether it's a partnership, creating locations, whether you want them to save money with you, whether you want their insurance, I don't care how great your stuff is. If they don't trust you, it's because you didn't take the time to know them. Maybe you're not maybe you don't have the personality. Maybe you're not likable. You can overcome that. Because anyone, if they want to, can listen. But Dave, it takes a lot of time to listen. Yeah, it does. got to ask this question, but are they not worth it? Can you really live with yourself if you go see someone and you don't take the time to break down the barriers and they stay the course in the old-fashioned type of life insurance, and then they get sick, and then the plate's passed when it didn't have to be passed? You see, the onus is, the burden, the onus, whatever you want to call it, is on you. And step number one, long distance, short distance, step number one is always to break down those barriers. Sometimes you're not going to like a person. There are people in the world that don't like me. Okay. There are people out there that are jealous of you know, what I'm doing and they're not doing. There are people that count pennies. Well, you know what? I can't help that. But when you're with a client, which might be a future business partner of yours, if you cannot create a relationship with that person, it's not going to work. It can't work. You know, there's a lot of obstacles in the insurance industry. Someone says to me, you got to see enough people. You have to look at this as a business. If McDonald's advertises, if Starbucks advertises, if Walmart advertises, they're smart enough to know you got to advertise. You own a business. But advertising's not enough. Have you ever worked for a big corporation that taught you how to interact with people coming into the store? Do you think they teach the Walmart greeter what to do? Do you realize at the Casino Harrah's, I've talked to people that go on and work for them, they teach you to remember the person's name, remember their favorite drink. Even if it's a bunch of BS, and say, well, they say, what's a hot machine? Well, point them to one. Even if it isn't a hot machine, point them to one. They know what they're doing. They're creating an atmosphere to do one thing. Whether it's right or wrong, they're doing the same thing we're doing. They're FTMing it. They're finding the money. They're trying to take the money from that person, and they're not returning it. Not only are we FTMing it, but we're giving it back bigger. We do not leave a person in a worse position. You got to understand that. We don't. We're FTMing it. We're finding the money. But we're bettering the position better than anybody else can do out there. No, listen carefully. No one can beat you. That's a pretty big deal. Nobody can beat you out there. So we gave you some easy steps. Why do you think we like a friend in this model, a friend leading another one to another friend? What's so great about that model? Hopefully it's a friend that likes you, trusts you. Remember that circle thing? Write 10 names on a piece of paper on a circle, and then take an X through 7 of them. Everybody remember that little thing they did? 7 out of 10 are not saving $100 a month. 7 out of 10 will get sick before 65. 7 out of 10 will have less than $10,000 in savings by the time they're 65. And we do not know whom. I talked to several interviews this week where they had enough money in lump sum a couple years ago, 5 years ago, only to wipe out their savings. Wipe it out. Not cool. Somehow they went through their crumbs, and we didn't get there in time to stop that from happening. So here's an assignment. It's 15 minutes on top of the hour, and I'm giving everybody homework this weekend. And this assignment is going to be today, Friday, and Saturday. I don't want you to do it on your day of rest. If your day of rest is Saturday, take your day of rest. If your day of rest is Sunday, don't do it Sunday. Today, Friday, and Saturday. And your homework assignment is to contact and talk to 3 people off your contact list on your phone. This means you're going to talk to 9 people. And I want you to send them to the website and watch the 3-minute video. Then they're going to come back to you. I want you then to take them online and share with them the calculator. And ask them which side do they prefer. Side A or side B. If they say your side, great. I've got another assignment for you. You're not closing yet. I've got another assignment. I want you to go to my website. If you own a website, we'll have it tailor-made. It'll be your site with your picture, your red SWAT video, and still have me on the site. I want you to watch and take them on there and tell them to go watch the Ed Slot video. Then watch the Weiner video. They need to understand how insurance works. And then they come back to you. Ask them the question, how much do you save right now? I save $200 a month. Great. I know we're moving that right now. But my question to you is, do you want to save the same amount? Or do you want to do more? Do you want to stay at $200 a month, or do you want to do more today? 3 times a day. If they say same amount, what are you supposed to do? Go online and do and submit your e-app. Online, do your e-app. Get their info and submit it. Now, if you do this 9 times over this weekend, beginning with today, tomorrow, and Saturday, you should have between 4 and 6 apps, yes, 4 to 6 apps for about $200 a month each, if not more. And let me ask you a question. Would that be such a bad thing? Now, once you write the app, now I know what Petrol said, shoot for a recruit, and if you don't recruit them, write the app. I got you shooting for the case first. Once you write the app and you got it submitted, you're winding down, you're going to have to say, because 9 times out of 10, they're going to say the same money, you're going to have to say, you need to save more. You do. Do you want my help in getting you more money to save? Send them back to the website to watch the 30-minute video. Then you recruit them to the business. or you put them in a business. Help them buy something. Help them get a Johnny Rockets, something to take control of their life. Use our lending portal. Whatever it takes. You could. And you don't have to send them to the Al Cardi video. You could send them to my workshop. Get them to understand they need to own a business. They need additional income. But you started with the savings aspect because you want to know something, folks? It's easy, and there's no way you can mess it up. There's no way. Now, if you don't know how to do an illustration, if you don't know how to put their numbers on the board with them and extrapolate the numbers and explain all those things in a step fashion, what I'm going to do tomorrow, I will walk through every step. And by the way, I skipped a step. You're going to do that closing line. Do you want to save more or not? And then basically you run the illustration and then input the app in front of them, and you show them what the income's going to be. We're going to walk through that. Now, if you do that, at the end of the weekend, you did 4 apps at $200 a month, and bang, you're at $800 a month in premium. Are you happy? Now, I want some feedback on this. Can you do those steps? Does that make sense to you? Bonnie, I talked about her at the very beginning this morning. I know you weren't here apparently, so we'll talk off the call, but I did talk about it the first 5 or 10 minutes. So, folks, can you do those steps? I'm gonna go get some feedback on these steps because I think these steps are really good. I'm gonna pick someone here. I'm gonna use Jerry Price. Jerry, I'm calling upon you right now. What do you think of those steps the way I did that?
Jerry? Yes, I think it's appropriate. Can you hear me?
Yes, I hear you. And I know you had a lot of business. Yes, I hear you.
Yeah, okay. I'm driving, so I just was watching my watching the webinar out of the corner of my eye. So anyway, yeah, the steps are. It's pretty hard to say no when that sequence of events takes place.
Is that a great sequence of events?
Yeah, I think you're onto something, so to speak.
There's a process, and we've made it duplicatable and simple. And while everybody wants to lead with recruiting, I don't think you lead with the recruiting. I think you lead with going after the 50 million Americans that are not saving enough. But get them saving the current money first and then talk about the problem they've got. Because once you try to recruit them, then that barrier goes, well, what are they trying to do? They're trying to recruit me? I mean, let's avoid that. Let's solve that equation after you take that person out of your phone book. Yes, sir.
Dave, you still hear me?
Yes, sir. I hear you.
My only comment would be it could be an interesting experiment to lead with the living benefits video and try to replace term policies that are easier for the new person, not us that have been around for a while, but easier for the new person to get done.
I'm gonna create that process also with AIG's Quick Ticket. I'm gonna do a class on that for AIG. Maybe we'll do it tomorrow. But I really want to go after the contributions of 401ks to index life because I really think we could really knock this out of the ballpark.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, let's face it. There's nobody here that if they followed those steps couldn't do $1,000 a week in monthly premium. And does that change their life?
Certainly does.
And even if they didn't recruit them, couldn't they ask them like the Ferralis do to refer them to 5 or 6 people that they know that are saving money also like them or people that they know like themselves? Because wouldn't you want that person not to be feed to death, taxed to death, and put at risk to death? I mean, the steps that we do, and when you do recruit a person, if they realize that all they're doing is playing videos and then going back and asking questions and then asking simple questions, we've made it where they don't really have to be a Dave Weiner. They've got all the tools in place that are duplicatable, and bang, they're writing business on a daily basis. I don't think that that's a bad thing. The rest of it's really simple. They're in business. We just got to teach them how to advertise. Advertise, you got more people to see. It's just that simple. I'm going to close you up there, Jerry. I'm going to see if we can snag someone else on this here. I like feedback when you can get feedback on something. So I'm going to go to Robert McCarthy out of, I guess he's moving to Arizona. Bob? Robert? Are you mic'd in? Robert? I don't think you're mic'd in. I'm going to go to Nicole Turner. Nicole? You're probably logged in just with the computer. Let's see here. I got some comment there. Yeah, Nicole's not on the mic, and neither is Robert. Sorry about that. Try to have mics, folks, if you can, because I love having get some interaction, stuff of that nature. I'm going to go to James Cowan. James, how are you?
I'm doing all right. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we hear you. James, what do you think of that? What do you think of that process?
I think it's great for new people. I mean, it takes the prospect through understanding what we do and how it benefits them, which makes it personal, and then, you know, kind of show them that they can do it also and give them the opportunity. I think you're going to get either the sale or recruit a pretty good percentage of the time.
Now, since we do a lot of IUL sales, you sort of, you know, you're in a process of selling lots of IULs. You're brand new to the business. I mean, really, you're just getting your license. How many interviews did you do in the last couple of weeks?
I don't know, probably 50 or 60.
50 or 60 interviews. And did you advertise to get that activity?
Yeah.
Did someone advertise for you?
Just Craigslist ads, basically.
So, created activity, right?
Absolutely.
That's the key, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's always a numbers game. The more people you talk to, the more money you're going to make.
And folks, there's a lesson there as I close up James' microphone right there. He understands the power of advertising. When you know, he's a brand new person. Our workshops are designed to go from low-cost advertising, make some money, a little bit more higher-cost advertising, make some more money, outrageous cost advertising, to make sure you're in front of people consistently. But from day one, here's a guy a couple weeks into his career has already done 50, 60 interviews. That's an amazing part of the group that's in from Carlos Millsap's group, the Martin group, because they believe from day one it's important to have that kind of activity. Activity is a good thing. And Nicole says she loves the that process. Well, you know what? So do I. I think this process is great. I'm going to go to Vegas and go to Mr. Ben Lazar. Ben, how are you?
I'm doing just fine, thank you, Dave.
So what do you think of the process that we walked through today? Simple process, but it's a process for your new people.
It's a simple process, Dave, and I think it's, you know, if you follow those steps, you should be able to succeed in doing this.
So what do you think about giving people a homework assignment to do 3 of those a day? To go in their contact list on their phone, call someone and say, I want you to look and watch something. I want you to do something. Are you near a computer? I want you to check something out. And get them to do step 1. Come back to you and to do step 2, step 3, just like I laid out today.
I think that's a good idea, and I'm going to pursue that, and we'll see how it works out.
Thank you, Ben. You have a great day. Okay, folks. Yes, we can get you a copy of this the webinar today, because I think it's a very important webinar we did today. I will upload it, and anybody that wants today's webinar and needs it, text me your contact information, and I'll upload it after the class is done here. Right now, Bob Miller, do I have an appointment that's verified or non-verified for this morning? And Eli, do I have an appointment with another PNC agency this morning? That much I don't know if we have an appointment for 11 o'clock today or not. Anybody? Thank you, Eli. I'd like to know, because I need to get into the San Jose office. I'll take the stuff with me. I'll do it from San Jose. And Bob, you got me confirmed for 12 o'clock today? Get me the information. Tell me what kind of person and all the background and everything. Thank you. folks, again, it's 9 o'clock in the morning, top of the hour. Let's do this homework assignment. I'm giving you a challenge. Go into your phone book, your contacts, on your smartphone, and just do 3 a day. Ask them if they're near a computer and watch the 3-minute video. And then walk through the rest of the steps. If you need to review today's class so you can get the steps down to a science, let's go out there and make this weekend a monster weekend for production. If every one of you have 4 or 5 sales by the time we get to Monday, that makes a better Christmas. Thank you. Have a great day.